SummerSlam 2025 will indeed be better than WrestleMania 41. Yeah, I said it. What's up? It's yours truly, Flamin' Real Cricket Rays. Welcome to Wrestle Havoc. And this is my reason on how this year's SummerSlam will be better than WrestleMania. Before we get into all this craziness, please make sure to like and subscribe to the Wrestle Havoc channel right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and you should. And as the friggin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. If you guys haven't checked out my last video on Hangman Page versus Jon Moxley being cinema, the link will be in the description below. Alright, we gotta talk about SummerSlam. This year's SummerSlam is gonna be very different than from years past, considering this year's SummerSlam is going to be the first ever two-night SummerSlam. SummerSlam being 2 nights is wild. I mean, SummerSlam has always been WWE's second biggest show of the year, but the fact that the show this year is going to be 2 nights, on one hand seems like it's overkill, but at the same time, I'm actually excited about it, simply because of the fact that I'm gonna be attending SummerSlam. Simply put, I'm a Jersey guy. Jersey's the greatest state in the world, by the way. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
We're from Jersey, baby, and you're not.
But so far, the card is looking absolutely stacked. Of course, we have John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. This is, of course, a rematch from their match at WrestleMania 41. And if you really think about it, that main event is considered one of the worst WrestleMania main events of all time looking back. But I think WWE might redeem themselves when it comes to this rematch. But I'll explain that later. We also got Gunther versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. With the news of Seth Rollins being injured, and from what it looks like he's going to take time off, WWE booking a Gunther versus CM Punk match only makes sense. It is the biggest possible match that they could have booked when it comes to Gunther, but not only that, it's the biggest possible match for CM Punk up to this point. Yeah, he did face John Cena for the undisputed title, but he lost. This could honestly be the moment in which CM Punk finally wins a world championship in WWE. We got Naomi defending her newly won women's world championship after cashing in her Money in the Bank this past Sunday at Evolution against Io Sky, who was the former champion, and Rhea Ripley in a triple threat match. I gotta tell you guys this right here and right now, Naomi winning the world title was a great moment for her. I mean, to be honest, Evolution was probably the best show of the entire weekend, and it capped off with one of the best Money in the Bank cash-ins in a while. That being Naomi cashing in her Money in the Bank in the main event between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, which in and of itself was a phenomenal main event. I mean, literally from top to bottom, there was no duds in the card. Every match had a purpose, and every match delivered. That's how great Evolution was. Not to mention, Naomi cashing in her Money in the Bank on Io Sky and Rhea Ripley came out of left field. Nobody, and I mean nobody, thought that she was going to cash in her Money in the Bank contract, because everybody thought that she was going to cash in when Jade won the title at SummerSlam. Speaking of Jade Cargill, she is going to be facing Tiffany Stratton for the undisputed WWE Women's Championship. This is coming after Jade won the Queen of the Ring tournament, and she is now the new #1 contender. I think this is the night where WWE could crown Jade as the new champion. But again, everybody literally thought that Naomi was going to cash in, and she did, but it wasn't on Jade or Tiffany Stratton. It was on Io and Rhea. Some other matches on the card, we got Lyra Valkyria taking on Becky Lynch in a rematch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Now, when it comes to the Women's Intercontinental Championship, I've been very critical about the direction of that title for the past couple of months. When WWE initially introduced the Women's Intercontinental Championship, it was just another belt in a slew of belts that WWE has. The Women's Intercontinental title was very similar to the Women's US title and the Women's Tag Team titles, in the sense that there was no real direction when it came to the title. Of course, Lyra Valkyria was the first champion, and in my opinion, the first few months of her title reign was just kind of disappointing. But that was until Becky Lynch came into the picture. Once Becky Lynch came into the picture and they started to have a full-fledged feud, it actually really made me interested in the Women's Intercontinental title scene. Also, the inclusion of Bayley made it even 10 times better. Out of all of the women's titles not named the Women's World or WWE Women's titles, the only title that really stands out is the Women's Intercontinental title. The Women's US title has no direction whatsoever, and that is saying something because Julia has just won the title a couple weeks ago. And the Women's Tag titles, yeah, they're held by Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez, but again, there's really no real direction with the Women's World title, and I don't think there ever will be. But that's just my opinion. The Women's Intercontinental Championship, in my opinion, is just as important now as the men's. It wasn't like that before, but now with this Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria feud throughout the past couple of months, it has piqued my interest. But why do I say SummerSlam is going to be better than WrestleMania 41? I say that because of the fact that WrestleMania 41 this year was disappointing with a lot of fans. If If anything, the build for WrestleMania 41 this year was kind of lackluster. If you compare the build for WrestleMania 41 to last year's WrestleMania, which was WrestleMania 40, it's like chicken shit and chicken salad. Everybody was talking about the final boss, that being The Rock. Everybody was talking about his feud with Cody Rhodes, all that shit. A lot of people were invested in that storyline, simply because of the fact that it was real life that turned into a wrestling storyline, because The Rock legitimately tried to change the WrestleMania main event from Cody versus Roman to Rock versus Roman, and thank Christ that didn't happen. But WWE changed it up in a sense where everybody won. The Rock transformed his character into the final boss, and throughout the build of WrestleMania 40, it was off to the races. WrestleMania 41 felt different. You can tell a lot of WWE's plans, especially primarily when it came to the main event scene, felt rushed. And once again, that had to do with The Rock. Of course, The Rock unexpectedly was announced for the Elimination Chamber because Ari Emanuel quote-unquote wanted The Rock to show up to sell more tickets, even though the Elimination Chamber tickets were selling relatively well. The story goes that The Rock originally wanted to turn Cody Rhodes heel, which would have been a dumb idea to begin with, and WWE nixed that idea, and instead they went with John Cena. And we all know what happened since then. John Cena turned heel, he joined up with The Rock, and there was no follow-up whatsoever, but John Cena still won the WWE title at WrestleMania 41 with the help of Travis Scott. And I'm gonna say this right here and right now, John Cena winning his 17th World Championship was the right move to make. The reason why people were upset was because of the execution on how John Cena won. I don't care what anybody says, Cody Rhodes looked like a fucking chump in that match. How do you have the opportunity to hit John Cena with the belt after all John Cena has done to you, literally turned his back on you and beat the living shit out of you, and you're like, no, I can't do it, and then you drop the belt only to get caught by John Cena? I mean, like, bro, I don't know what it is with baby faces nowadays, and it's not just WWE, it's everywhere. It's also in AEW and in TNA. Baby faces suffer dumb baby face syndrome. I'm telling you that right now. Baby faces are stupid as hell. But we all know what happened. Travis Scott got involved. John Cena won the undisputed WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes went on hiatus for a couple of months until returning to Saturday night's main event. He won the King of the Ring and is going to face John Cena at SummerSlam. I'm going to be honest. I feel like this is the biggest opportunity for WWE to actually redeem themselves when it comes to John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. I'm actually being legitimately serious, because looking back, their first match was just kind of boring. I mean, everybody should have expected that match to not be that great, but there are a lot of different possibilities when it comes to Cody Rhodes and John Cena. This could possibly be the night where John Cena reverts back into a babyface, because we all know John Cena is eventually going to revert back into a babyface and either retains the WWE title or Cody Rhodes wins the title. Or this could be the perfect opportunity for WWE to insert Randy Orton into the picture and possibly cost Cody Rhodes the title, leading towards a full-fledged feud between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, because we all know that is bound to happen. Ever since Cody Rhodes returned to the company back in 2022, everybody wanted to see a feud between Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. And also, Randy Orton has teased a potential heel turn on Cody Rhodes. Also, given their history, it just makes total sense. Now, when it comes to Gunther versus CM Punk, I'm very excited for this match. Of course, this past Monday on Raw, there was a gauntlet for the #1 contendership for Gunther's World Heavyweight title. This was coming off the heels of Gunther beating Goldberg at Saturday night's main event. I'm going to say this right here and right now. I thought the gauntlet that they did this past Monday on Raw was phenomenal. If there's anybody that looked strong in the process, it was Braun Breaker, because he literally dominated throughout the entirety of that gauntlet. He dominated Penta, he dominated LA Knight, he dominated Jey Uso. Of course, that wasn't until CM Punk came into the picture. CM Punk looked phenomenal. Now, I will say this. Everybody was curious as to who Gunther was going to face at SummerSlam. Simply put, it all had to do with the injury that Seth Rollins suffered at Saturday night's main event, and from what it looks like, Seth Rollins is going to be out for a significant amount of time. And it sucks because it can ruin a lot of plans that WWE has for Seth Rollins' group going forward in the future. I know a lot of people were creating ideas of putting Seth Rollins' Money in the Bank up for grabs once again in a ladder match at SummerSlam. That is a stupid decision to make, simply because of the fact that Seth Rollins' Money in the Bank contract runs up all the way until next June. So if you really think about it, it'd be kind of unfair to Seth Rollins. And I assume by June, Seth Rollins is already going to be back. But when it comes to CM Punk winning the gauntlet, I think Gunther versus CM Punk could be a very intriguing match. I'm being serious. I've always said this about Gunther. Gunther can literally make anybody look good. CM Punk is great in the ring. He's not perfect considering his age, but some of the matches that he's had in this recent WWE run were phenomenal. I mean, for God's sakes, look at the Hell in a Cell match that he had with Drew McIntyre last October at Bad Blood. Look at the match that he had with Seth Rollins on the first Raw on Netflix. Look at the triple threat match at this year's WrestleMania. And let's be honest with ourselves, the triple threat match saved the first night of WrestleMania. It literally saved the first night of WrestleMania. And if you compare it to John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, dude, it's like night and day. It's crazy. I think a match with Gunther would be really good for CM Punk. Not only that, it's just a really interesting dynamic in my opinion. But the question that we all need to ask ourselves is, who's gonna win? Well, as much as I like Gunther, I think honestly, I don't think there's really anything that WWE is set to do with Gunther. I think WWE put the belt back on Gunther by default simply because of the fact that Jey Uso just wasn't working. And that's saying something because I defended the idea of Jey Uso winning the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. Not only that, I defended Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble, and I still stand by that statement. But let's be honest with ourselves, the biggest problem with Jey Uso's title reign was just the follow-up. I felt like WWE just didn't really give Jey Uso a fair shot, and I feel like they just didn't really have any plans for Jey Uso, and that's strictly on WWE, that's not on Jey Uso. Jey Uso is the pure definition of marketability, and when you're a wrestler, you need to be marketable in this day and age. But when it comes to Gunther, I actually believe that CM Punk could possibly beat Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Because think about this, the last time CM Punk won a World Championship was all the way back in 2022, which was AEW All Out after beating Jon Moxley. And we all know what happened after that. His title reigns just did not last long at all. This could literally be the perfect opportunity for Punk himself to redeem himself and actually have a good, lengthy world title reign, because he hasn't had that ever since returning to wrestling back in 2021. All of his title wins ended in injury or in controversy, and I feel like Punk can definitely redeem himself when it comes to beating Gunther at SummerSlam. That is just me though. Also, I think the match itself would be phenomenal. Again, I think both men will have great chemistry with one another. Speaking of moments, what about that return of Roman Reigns? It's interesting how I didn't mention Roman Reigns in this video yet. What the fuck is wrong with me? Of course, Roman Reigns made his return this past Monday on Raw, saving both Jey Uso and CM Punk from Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. And Roman Reigns' return has been inevitable. The last time we saw Roman Reigns was at the Raw after WrestleMania 41, where of course Braun Breaker laid everybody out. And of course, back at WrestleMania 41, Paul Heyman turned his back on not only his tribal chief, but his best friend CM Punk. Now CM Punk won the gauntlet and he's facing Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. What is Roman Reigns going to be doing? Well, from what it looks like, he's saved Jey Uso. Not only that, he got his revenge on Seth Rollins as a group, even though Seth Rollins is not there considering his injury. I genuinely believe we're probably going to be getting a tag team match. Yeah, I know I said it. We're probably going to be getting a tag team match, but hear me out. We're going to be getting a tag team match between the team of Roman Reigns and Jey Uso taking on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. I mean, we've seen Jey Uso return to the bloodline before, so I think that is the best possible match for Roman Reigns at this stage of the game. If Seth Rollins were still around, we would have probably gotten the match between Seth Rollins and CM Punk, and maybe, just maybe, we'd probably maybe even get a triple threat match between the two. Once again, simply because of the fact that, of course, Roman Reigns was also a part of the whole Seth Rollins collision at WrestleMania 41. I think for what WWE has planned, I think the best possible match is for Roman Reigns to be in a tag team match with Jey Uso taking on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. I think the dynamic between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso is already there. I mean, they've established that with the bloodline already. Not only that, Roman Reigns was already feuding with Seth Rollins and his collision as well. I love how I call it the Seth Rollins collision. It's like the Christian collision. What the fuck am I talking about? We all expected WWE to bring back Roman Reigns. It was just inevitable at this point, and he was going to get his revenge on Seth Rollins' group. Also for SummerSlam, we got a tag team match as Randy Orton and Jelly Roll will be taking on Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. I know a lot of people were complaining about the whole Jelly Roll thing, and I don't know why. People need to understand that WWE loves their celebrity involvement. Ever since the 80s, WWE always included celebrities, and that's never going to change. Not to mention, Jelly Roll's a big wrestling fan, and I think the fans will love it over in New Jersey. So honestly, I have no issue with it. And also, the way that they went about it, not only on SmackDown this past Friday, but at Saturday night's main event, dude, I thought the angles that they did were phenomenal. If anything, it got me hooked. So yeah, that tag match is going to be really fun. But in terms of SummerSlam, I'm actually really excited about the show. Again, since this show is going to be a two-night show, one show is easily going to be better than the other. But I will say this, from how WWE has been building up to this show so far, and it's only the beginning and we're only a couple of weeks away from the show, I feel like WWE is already building this show 10 times better than WrestleMania. Because I feel like WWE was scrambling all over the place when it comes to WrestleMania. I feel like this is going to be a chance where WWE redeems themselves from the disaster that was WrestleMania 41. Because looking back, WrestleMania 41 was not really one of the best WrestleManias of all time. If you compared it to the last three WrestleManias, that being WrestleMania 38, 39, and 40, 41 was nothing compared to those past three shows. SummerSlam is their second biggest show of the year, and WWE is banking high on this show considering it's going to be the first ever two-night SummerSlam. And with this card, I actually believe that this show is going to be a little bit more fun, and it's actually going to feel like a WrestleMania than what WrestleMania 41 was. WrestleMania 41 just did not feel like a WrestleMania. I genuinely believe SummerSlam will actually feel like a WrestleMania. And no, I'm not not saying that because it's being held in MetLife Stadium. I'm saying that because of the hype factor and also the card itself. I'm actually digging what they got for the card so far. But yeah, that was my thoughts on SummerSlam. Comment down below if you think this year's SummerSlam will be better than this year's WrestleMania. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications. I mean, look out for more videos right here on the Wrestle Havoc channel, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is yours truly, Flamin' Ricky DeRays, signing out. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace.